video, what we want to show you is how to install your LED lighting. In this case, it's going to be under the counter to light up the countertops. Before we get started in installing our LED lights, we have to do something first. Guess what that is? Currently, the homeowner has... No, that's not a bug zapper. Those are fluorescents. They're loud, they're non-energy efficient, they're horrible. Who would even want these things? In fact, when I take them out, we're going to compare the LED light strip to one of these pieces of junk. Okay, so here's what we pulled out from underneath the cabinets that was under there before. This is just a fluorescent lighting. You can see how big and bulky, 110 voltage going to it. Look at all the different components. You have a plastic cover, you have a fluorescent bulb, you have all this wiring, all this metal, so much stuff. There's only one place where this belongs. That's the trash. Check this out though. This is what we're going to replace this particular stuff with. Look how much smaller, more linear, and there's just no comparison. And it's going to put out more light than these will. So let's get started on the install. Okay, so here in step one, what we want to do is locate where we're going to put our power supply and our RF receiver. Normally, in most houses, above your cooktop, you have a microwave. And above that microwave is a microwave cabinet where there's an outlet. It's normally where people will pull power off of to do their lighting. This case, they have a hood there, so that option's out of the picture. What we decided to do is put it behind the refrigerator. There's a nice space behind the refrigerator where we can conceal it. In this instance, they have about 4 or 5 inches of space here where we can push it off to the side. If you can't push it off to the side, well, you can drill a hole in the bottom of the cabinet and run your wires up inside here and put all your components there. So here's step one, your RF receiver. I normally mount this first, and that way I can pull all my wires to it, pull them nice and tight, and make sure they're nice and neat. So I'm going to put that right off to the side so when this refrigerator comes back, it doesn't hold the refrigerator out. So that's what okay, so the next step, now that we have the RF receiver installed, is finding out where we're going to run our wire. So what you want to do now is grab your belt wire and find out the locations you want to put it. You want to make sure you have enough to get from your receiver to the first section of your light. We have a dilemma here, and we also have a dilemma here with the window. How do we cross over? And we get a lot of calls of people who are trying to get across the window, looking for suggestions. So, well, we have both of them now, so it should answer any questions that you have. What we're going to do is drill a hole in the side of this refrigerator panel, nice and tight underneath this cabinet, and that's where our first wire is going to go. We're going to draw another wire. We're going to drill at the top of this cabinet, above this crown molding, behind it, there's a chase up there. So we're going to be able to drill a hole at the very top, run our wire, bring it down, and into this cabinet here. What we're going to do is put it behind this door frame. That way it's concealed and out of sight. Then from there, your lighting will be come along this bottom of the cabinet, and then we're going to drill a hole underneath here and run it up and over the top of the casing, behind the casing, and for this lighting here. So another way you can do it is to get up in the attic. No one likes to do it, but at least it makes for a nice clean job. In this case, we had the casing to run it behind. Now we want to do the layout for the strip lighting. For this, you'll need a pair of either some kind of cutters. Normally your strippers have cutters on them. That's what I usually use. So when you do your cuts, there's a couple different ways that you can install this. I just want to make mention. And one of those is you can use an aluminum extrusion, and that's kind of the look that you get. So this will then mount up underneath the cabinet. It has a plastic cover on it, very linear, very clean. But in this particular kitchen, we're going to just peel and stick the tape to the bottom of the cabinets. What I recommend that you do is dust them off, wipe them down with a little bit of water, a dry rag with a little bit of water, and then go over it with some alcohol or mineral spirits or something like this. That way you're sure to get rid of all the grease, and then the tape will stick with no problems. So on the tape, there's little cut lines. Again, on the Vivid strip, they're about every inch, so it gives you a little bit more play. So I normally get down, measure it out, find out where I'm going to cut it right on where it says to cut, and you're good to go. So there's one. I sometimes cut mine a little bit big, and I can do the final cuts. When I install it, when I go to stick it.
Last night, with closed walls of buildings high up, like a giant hallway.
Now that our cuts have been made, you'll notice on our first cut that we made, there's a little pigtail hanging off of it. What we're going to do with this is we're going to hardwire it directly to our first light. And so that's how we're going to connect this first lighting. One thing that you might want to consider
Alone inside a crowd, I feel at home away from
it lights up. That way, let's say you get all the way over here and you didn't do any testing. Now you're trying to trace back where it's at. So just do it as you go. Makes your life a little bit easier and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and hardwire this one, and then I'll show you how to use a press connector. Okay, now that we have this strip hardwired in, we want to go ahead and power it up just to make sure it works, and that way we can continue on. So, you have your power supply. It has a little barrel connector. On the barrel connector itself, it has a plus and minus symbol on there. What you want to do next is cut a little piece of bell wire, strip the ends, and your red wire will go to the plus, and then you just take your screwdriver, screw it down, your black to the minus or negative, screw it down, just give it a little tug, make sure they're in there. Next thing we want to do is go over to our RF receiver and put this on the input. Your output's going to go to the light. So these will go in the input. Again, they're color coded, red and black, so red goes to red, black goes to black. Grab our power supply. Plug that in. Now this is the wire to our first light, which is this one here. That's just going to go into the top of the receiver, again, the output. Red to red, black to black. Now what you can do is go ahead and plug it in. You have light. Now just test it. Off. On. You have your wireless remote or controller. You want to make sure that works as well. A little touchy. And then also make sure your dimming goes down. It's normally at full bright when you get the light. So as you can tell, it's dimming down, dimming up. So we have it to work. So let's move on with the rest of our lighting. Next step to come on to this side is you have a press connector. So it has this little black tab on it that pulls out and pushes in. It's real easy. Don't try and snap it off or be a hero. But what we did is we tied it in, again hardwired, cut it off of this one, hardwired it in, and again, red is plus, black is negative. Look on your piece of tape, you see a little plus symbol and a minus symbol. I'm leaving the light on, you're not going to get shocked or anything. You can see that the light lights up, so you know you have a good connection. So you can take that, press it back till you feel it clamp down, and you're good to go. So let's power that off. But you want to make sure too, when you put it into there, that the little paper backing is not in there. Sometimes you won't get that connection if that's the case. So peel it back, then stick it in there. So our next thing is we want to peel and stick this one underneath this light rail as well. Okay, and just on this end here, don't push that up because we had to put another press connector on there to connect to this next run of lights that we're going to put in here. So this one is one that's not cut, so we'll go ahead and do that next.
It is time to find my way out. I can see from the top of the city, all the windy streets below. I wonder where they go.
So we got that to work. Okay, so now that we completed all the hooking up of the lights, we ran everything to our power supply, we put all of our press connectors in, so everything's up and working. We're going to go ahead and power them on. We're going to go ahead and dim them up. You can see how bright they really are. And so now we have our under cabinet lighting. Next thing what we want to do is mount our actual controller. We're going to use the same places where the switch was previously for the original lighting. We went ahead and wired nut all the hot wires on that, so there's no live wires in there. So your wireless dimmer comes just like this. This thing here pops off. You have a cover plate which pops off. That's where your battery goes as well. So we're going to go ahead and mount this. The little power button is the top, and then the rest is the bottom. So we'll go ahead and mount this. And this cover plate will fit any screw holes of any standard box, just in case you're wondering. Okay, now that's mounted. Go ahead and try it again. Power it on. Power it on. Okay. We're good to go. You can either put this cover plate back on it. This is the one project to help you figure out how to hook up your LED lighting. It took all in all probably about 45 minutes to do so. So not too long to do it. Please shop at GoLEDlight.com.
We get past things to fall.